Disappeared on you? All right, we're live, Bob.
We are live, Carlos. Hey, welcome back to another Friday Hangouts with Carlos and Bob. I thought I'd just take over the introduction there, Carlos, because
Good, 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 good.
it seemed like we were a little surprised when that thing came on. I was doing a screen share. I was doing this cool flipped back. It just showed my icon instead of a live talking head. So, yeah. Anyways, so Carlos, we're back, and we got some stuff to talk about this week. Where do you want to start? We had this program that we were thinking about doing here.
Well, you know, I wanted to start with, because you went to that convention.
I went to a convention.
The Children's Book Writers and Illustrators Convention.
Yeah, up in Charlotte.
Yeah, and we haven't had a chance to actually talk about it. That's been a few weeks already, and I haven't really picked your brain about it, or we've been so busy we really haven't had much of a chance to kind of touch base on what happened and how it worked out for you and your experience over there. So I wanted to kind of just jump in and let us know what the deal was, man. What'd you do over there?
Okay. Yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it, and I've got a couple of tips for people who are going to go do these things, so I'll save those for a minute. But just wanted to talk about the event first. It was great. We really had a lot of fun. I met some great people down there. Everybody who was there was just, really warm and friendly and welcoming, so that was pretty cool. This was my first experience going to an SCBWI event, so I didn't really know what to expect. But man, I'll tell you one thing, from the second I got there to the second I left, we were busy doing stuff. So it was really cool. Yeah, I enjoyed it. We got a chance to meet some new folks, and we talked a little bit about the business side of art. I gave a little, what do you call those, the breakout meetings there. So we had a breakout meeting. That was fun. And then we had a little social schmoozer Saturday night. I got to meet some new folks, and I got to talking with some people who actually live in my area, in the Raleigh area. So we're thinking about starting up a little art group. That should be fun. So we'll be working on that, later today or starting into next week, and see if we can get that up and running. I'm really looking forward to that. It's really, I'll tell you one thing. When you get together with a group of people who share, your background, and especially doing what I do, the children's book illustration, you don't have a chance to mingle with those kind of people very often. So getting down to an event like this was really special. It was really cool, seeing how other people handle it and what they're doing, and I just want to so I just want to give a quick shout out to a couple of people I've been working with. Deb Johnson and Vanessa Brentley Newton, they were the two who did the presentation with me, and we've been working together now for about, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 months putting together this presentation, and we did a little write-up for it. So, hey guys, good to see you again. Oh man, that was so much fun. Yeah, so we enjoyed working together so much that we decided that we would keep our Wednesday meetings and we still get together and talk about stuff. So yeah, that was great. It was a really, really positive experience, and I'm glad.
Now, what was your presentation on?
So we talked about the business side of art, kind of like what we do here on the podcast, but this was more geared towards people who are doing illustration in and around the children's book area. So we talked a little bit about starting up and getting going, and some of the things that you need to consider when it comes to putting your portfolio online and all that kind of stuff. So unfortunately our presentation was just an hour. I mean, it went by like that, so we didn't get to talk about everything that we wanted to, but we had an 8-page handout that we had ready. We gave those to everybody, and part of the spin-off is we're going to be looking at creating a new sort of group for the society, which is called the WIN thing here, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in future episodes, because it's still under development right now. But WIN stands for Working Illustrators Network. So we're going to be putting that together. It's really exciting. I'm really happy that that the whole thing went so smoothly, and we had such a great time.
Let me ask you a question. Was the presentation recorded in any way, or no?
No, they kind of frown on recording, your presentations. I would love to have done it because, the two people I was working with were just, really great. Deb is fantastic at organizing, and Vanessa was just a great speaker. So it was just it was really fun, but they don't let you record any of that stuff. It becomes um, you know what's the word I'm looking for? It kind of gets in the way of the presentation and that kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
they frown on that. They want people to be there in person and participating. So
Now, let me
um,
ask you a question on that.
sure.
Would it be, I mean, you guys already have the presentation made. Obviously, there's a small percentage of
Mhm.
people that go out to the conferences, and probably a much larger group of people that either can't make it or it wasn't uh, timely for them to go at the time that it was available. Is
Mhm.
Are you guys considering probably maybe, I'm just throwing this out there, I mean, probably creating maybe like a webinar, with using the same presentation for and getting it out there possibly?
We'll probably consider doing something like that. We're writing some stuff right now. I'll get into some of this stuff more later as the website starts to get more developed, and I can start to let people know what's up. But just know that, yeah, we're considering some stuff like that, and I believe, I'm not sure if it's still available, but I believe that the society put up a place on their website where you could download the presentation material. So we had a PDF that we put together for this thing. So if it's still available, I'll put up a link for it. I think it's mainly for society members, but
Right.
we'll be putting more material out there like this, soon. So just sit tight, and then when we have that stuff ready, I'll bring it onto the show and say, hey, come check this out. But my advice for anybody who's interested in getting into children's books who hasn't done them before, or maybe you do have a little bit more experience, but getting involved with a group like the society is a great support mechanism. So it's great to be able to talk to other people who do what you do, figure out better ways to do things. The presentations that were given there were given by people who are like me, who've been in the industry for a long time. They had agents, they had publishers, they had writers, they had illustrators, all talking about they even did portfolio reviews, which is really cool. So I reviewed a couple of portfolios, talked to some people down there, saw some amazing talent. It's just really a great place to get involved if you want more than just trying to figure things out by yourself sitting at your desk. So I would recommend something like this to just about anybody who wants to get involved with it.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, we've talked about it in the past, the importance of going to the conferences.
yeah.
I know it costs money, and it's not cheap. I mean, you gotta, depending on where it is and how many days it is. I mean, you gotta, airfare, or
Hmm.
you gotta drive there, or you got a hotel room. But really, I mean, um, you know, the value of, you can sit home and get the same information, but when you're staying in your studio and you don't have the benefit of reaching out and communicating with people that have different ideas and are coming at solutions from different angles, and the value of connecting with people, you just don't realize how huge it is if you're just staying in your studio. You're missing out on a lot. I would recommend at least getting out to at least one, figure out one convention or something that you want to hit per year, and make plans to attend them. You can really make a lot of deep connections, and like what you're doing, where you're starting to spin off a lot of different things, and that can only happen when you're there face to face.
Yeah, that's a good point. There are, different levels of connection with people, and so having a live connection, I think, is the strongest of the bunch. So the second is to hop on and do, like what we're doing here, where you're interacting with people, with a screen share or whatever. And then, you kind of step down. Next thing is like your social media connections, your email connections, phone connections, whatever. The closer you can get to a live connection, the stronger that connection is going to be. And so when you go to an event like this, a lot of opportunities arise that will not arise if you have something online, or if you're just talking to people on the phone. You don't get to say, hey, you got to come meet this person here. This person right here is doing what you're doing. You two should connect and do whatever, that kind of stuff. That doesn't happen unless you actually get out and you start to participate with these events. So yeah, it's a big commitment to go down there, but it also lets people know that, the other people who are participating, that you're serious about what you're doing, because you've laid down a couple of bucks to spend at the hotel or whatever. that's a big deal, you know, and
Yeah,
that
those are
says,
quality connections that you're making.
yeah, and that says, hey, you know what, I'm really serious about this. I'm going to do this, you know, and so um, if you have an opportunity to do something like that, I would consider it, look into it, and even if let's say that you know that the hotel is just too much for you, you don't want to spend the money or whatever, then find something local, you know, and go and do something in the city that's closest to you. And there's an event somewhere that you can get involved with, and you can start to get out, branch out, and meet people, because you make these connections that you would have never made otherwise, you know.
Yeah. And the other thing too that a lot of people don't realize is you get out of the studio. You know,
That's the best
no,
part.
really, because you're in the studio. A lot of times you take in information, but then you get back into email. You get back into your daily hustle of what you do. Your
Yeah.
all the things that are going on in your environment. When you leave the studio and go to a convention for a day or two, it gives you a whole day or two to concentrate just on what you're there to get. You know what I mean? Without all of the distractions. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on, but I mean, it gives you an opportunity to really kind of focus in on your business or what it is that you're trying to get from that conference, without all the distractions that you get day to day, the phone calls, the emails, the family, whatever it is. It just takes you away from that and opens up a focus on those things. And I think that's really, really powerful.
Yeah, and one of the other things, and I'm going to go back to the last thing I was just talking about. One of the other things is you're going to meet a lot of people you wouldn't necessarily meet on your own, because you're sort of in an atmosphere where you're forced to be with people and to make connections and to talk to them. I mean, like for instance, I went to lunch. I knew two people at the event. I knew or people at the event before I went down. So then after lunch, suddenly now I've got, five more people that I know. And then after the next thing that we were in, five more people, and these are people that I would have met on my own. I just happen to meet them and start to talk to them because I'm sitting next to them, So I'm not a very outgoing guy. When I get to these events, sometimes I feel a little awkward, and sometimes people might look at me and they're like, hey, that guy is like he's doing okay, and that's okay when I have something that I need to do. If I'm doing a portfolio review or if I'm talking about whatever, that's great. But when it comes to just going up and shaking somebody's hand, saying, "Hey, how you doing?" That can feel a little awkward for me. So getting into this event sort of forces me out of that comfort zone that I feel when I'm holed up in my studio, and it sort of says, hey, you know what? You're sitting next to somebody here. You better say something,
Right.
So you get into that, and all of a sudden you realize, like, wow, this person next to me, who I normally, if I was sitting on a subway or going to get lunch down at Whole Foods or whatever, I would never have talked to. But now here we are at this event. I talk to them, and a whole new world opens up. So I felt
You
like
made
that
more
was.
friends, and now your Christmas list is longer now. So
That's right. I gotta have to
gotta buy
send
more
out more
presents.
Christmas cards, more presents.
So
Yeah,
what
yeah.
was
So
the big takeaway for the conference, Bob? What'd you learn? I mean, we always learn something. What'd you learn from going to this thing?
I don't know if I could
Anything stand
boil it
out for
down
you?
to one thing. Yeah, I don't know if I could just boil it down to one single thing, but I would say the takeaway from this would be that you know there are two things I think that really stood out for me. One is that I need to get out and do this stuff more often, and the second thing is it's not really as scary as it seems. So the event was great, and there was just so much information pouring in, and to try to get that out to everybody would be ridiculous. But for me, I realized that you know it's it's a great thing to be able to kind of just get out there and do this stuff. So my goal next year is to participate in this event again, and then to see if I can find some other stuff that I can do, a couple other events maybe. This art group was kind of a thing that I thought about doing to kind of keep the momentum rolling for this, and to get more people in my area active in meeting up. So maybe I could just announce this right here. So if you're in the Raleigh area and you're listening to this, come find me, because we're getting ready to start an art group, and we'd like to get some interesting people involved, and see if we can meet more frequently than just once a year like this event is.
Excellent. Cool. All
Yeah.
right.
So
Well, That's exciting, man. I'm glad it worked out for you and it was fun and you met some people and you got a lot of things going on.
Yeah, so I'm going to give here's so I'm going I at the beginning I mentioned I had some tips. Here's my tips. If you're going to go to an event like this, make sure you don't do like what I do. Try to plan to give yourself some time before before the event actually starts. So try to arrive as early as possible to this event. I'm almost embarrassed to tell this story, but I'm going to tell it anyways. So I left a lot of stuff to the last minute because I was busy with deadlines and stuff like that. In fact, I was working right up until just the second before I left. I had to get some stuff out to different clients and that kind of stuff. So here it is, 10 o'clock in the morning. I look at my watch and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get out of here. You know, and I looked at the I looked at the directions the night before, and it says, Charlotte's 2.5 hours from Cary. You should be all set. So I was like, well, okay, it's 10 o'clock. I'll get there in time. And I'm rushing around or whatever, and I didn't end up leaving till 11 o'clock. Well, that still would have been okay if Charlotte was 2.5 hours from here. It's not. It's actually 3 hours from door to door. I didn't, like when I did the directions, I didn't go door to door. I just said, how far is it from Charlotte to Cary? And it turns out, you know, it takes 20 minutes to get out of Cary and 20 minutes to get into Charlotte, you know. So I arrived at the event. I was supposed to be there at 2 o'clock. I arrived at 1:55.
Wow.
I walked in the door, went straight to the portfolio
Sometimes
reviews, shook a few hands,
like
shook a few hands on the way in. Yeah, it was ridiculous. I will never do that again. You need time to prepare. You need time to, when you get in, you need time to be able to chill out for a minute, you know. Maybe go check into your room, just lay down for a second or two, whatever. But if I could do it again, what I would probably try to do is get in the night before, make some connections, and so then when the event starts, it's not so awkward and so rushed, you know, because you really feel rushed in a lot of these things. This event started basically, it started the Friday, you know, that I arrived, but the following day on Saturday, you're up at 7:30, you're eating breakfast by 8, all the meetings start, you know, before 8:30, and then your day doesn't end until, I believe I don't think we ended till 11 at night, you know. So we did all our events, we had dinner, had a little break, and then we were back doing the schmooze till 11 o'clock at night. So that's a long day. You need to give yourself a little bit of time to just kind of relax, to chill out. You know, you need a little bit of downtime. So I would advise anybody who's going to go to one of these events, try to get there as early as possible, because you don't want to show up like I was. I mean, I was freaking out. I'm driving them there. I'm thinking, like, if I even just stop for 1 minute, I'm going to be late, you know. So you don't want that kind of pressure on you just before you roll in, you know. So luckily, you know, when I got in there, you know, somebody recognized me right off the bat. Next thing you know, I'm whisked into the room and I'm reviewing portfolios 2 minutes later. You don't you don't want to be doing that. You want to have a chance to kind of chill out. So that's my big tip.
Well, that's a hefty one right there.
Yeah, yeah, that's almost as good as the Oh, and I thought about that other one. Remember that little video that we did about the dry hands and the
water bottle,
the bathroom there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember that one. I tried that to make sure I didn't have any clammy handshakes, you know. But
that actually happened to me. It was kind of funny. It was
did you think about our?
I was holding a cold, wet water bottle, and someone came up to me and introduced themselves, and I switched my hands. I had it in my right hand. I switched it into my left hand, and I shook his hand with a clammy, wet handshake.
Yeah.
The guy says, "You didn't just come out of the bathroom, did you?" I'm like, "No, I'm good."
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you don't want you don't want people shaking a cold, wet, clammy hand. So if you're at an event, always make sure you hold your drink in the hand that you're not going to shake somebody else's, or have a little napkin there. That's my other tip.
That's very good.
I know it's not.
So I mean, we've talked about the benefits before of not just going to the conferences, but setting yourself up to be a presenter at a conference. You know, because there's certainly,
and that was huge,
benefits to that as well.
I'll tell you one thing. You know, the difference between being somebody who's presenting material and just being somebody who is attending is that it opens up a lot more opportunity for you to meet people and talk with other people. Because they see you, you know, speaking at the event, and suddenly there's a connection there. They know who you are. They know what you're about. They know your name. They're, you know, a lot of people approached me after and, you know, talked to me about whatever, but they already knew who I was. So it was an easier way to start to get to know people. And then at the lunch, I got a chance to sit down next to the keynote speaker for the kickoff of the event. It was really it was great because it builds a connection before you even have a connection. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it opens up a lot of doors, a lot of opportunities for you.
And a lot of people listening to this might think, well, you know, I can't present, or you know, I just do what I do, or whatever, and I'm not at a level where I should, you know, present or whatever, and they don't see themselves that way.
Right.
And I would argue that most of you watching this right now are probably have enough expertise in something in a certain area of what you do, where you can make a 45-minute presentation at some of these places, and they would be happy to hear about it, because a lot of these places are looking for content that there's, you know, that their group needs to learn about or hear. So I would, you know, recommend that you kind of, you know, take stock of your own abilities and your own experience, and I think you'll find something that you're liable to kind of speak on at one of these events, whether it be a children's book writers and illustrators event, or an illustration event, or a graphic design event, whatever it happens to be.
So, you know, one of the things that we did that really kind of took the pressure off me a little bit, and I don't know if everybody's the same way, but when I teamed up with a couple of extra people, the two people that we were doing the event with, there was such a nice flow between the three of us, and we all sort of had a little bit of a different point of view about the topics that we would talk about. So it gave people a broader perspective of what we were presenting, but it also, you know, it made me feel more comfortable being able to present with somebody sitting next to me, because I felt like if I ever stumbled, or I didn't have the words, then that person could pick it up and run with it. And then also, again, it gave us the ability to present a very balanced view of the
Right.
topics we were talking about. So if you're nervous about being alone in front of a big room of people, consider, you know, hooking up with a friend or somebody who's, you know, in the business, or somebody that you know who might consider presenting with you. I think
That's an excellent point. And also, now that you bring that up, another aspect of getting yourself up in front of a room also is becoming part of a panel discussion, where it's not just you,
Sure.
but you have a moderator and you have a couple of different panelists. And usually, typically, panelists aren't always experts in their field. Sometimes it's just, you know, people working in the industry that present a different viewpoint and are there to ask questions or play devil's advocate to whatever the context of the discussion is. So, you know, those are all different options. And if you're open to that, you can, you know, if you know of an upcoming event, you can simply contact them and say, look, do you have any, you know, discussion panels happening? I'd like to be part of it. And you never know where it might lead. I mean, you know, it's those kind of things that I think kind of open up a lot of the opportunity doors for you that people typically don't think to go down.
Yeah, and I'll say one thing about the presentation. I was nervous about doing it, but when I got there, those nerves kind of they really kind of calmed down, because I do a lot of teaching, and I started teaching about 4 years ago at the local community college here. And when I got into this to this breakaway group, I felt just the same way that I feel when I'm in front of a class. So I was very relaxed, and the presentation was easy. I think practicing and getting out there and speaking in front of small groups will help you kind of quell those nerves, you know. So if you have an opportunity to pick up a teaching gig like I did, or just to get out and do this in front of a smaller group or whatever. I mean, the group that we talked to at the event wasn't huge. It was about the same size as the classroom I normally teach. So it just felt like I had walked into my classroom and I was just teaching in a different location. But to get out there and to practice it a little bit. Now, you do a lot of speaking, and you joined up with Toastmasters. So my guess is you have a much higher comfort level now going into a situation than you did before you joined that group.
Yeah, but also, you know, like the event that I did last year, late last year, where it was like, I don't know, it was like 600 people or whatever that I was speaking.
That's a big group. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, but I got there like the night before, like you had mentioned, getting there earlier, just so I can be comfortable. You know, I walked into the room. I found out the room that we were going to be presenting in. It was empty, of course. There was no chairs in it or anything. But I just wanted to walk through the room, get comfortable with the space, but more importantly, I wanted to get there early enough to meet a lot of the people that I'd be speaking to.
Yeah.
So consequently, before I got on stage, I had met so many people, and they made me feel so comfortable, and I was so familiar with them, and we had just had a lot of casual chats, and it was just like, by the time I got on stage, it was just like it was like you and I talking right now. It wasn't a stressful situation. It was just people I had met already, and we had already broken the ice, um, and it really helped out quite a bit. But I mean, yeah, like you said, I mean, starting with smaller groups is fine. And and the thing is that not everybody that's listening to this is going to want to go that route, and that's fine. You don't have to.
Sure.
It's just another avenue that kind of opens up other opportunities for you. So if you're in a position where you might want to try to expand a little bit, and just besides just the studio work, and maybe start, delving into other things, these are opportunities that really kind of set you apart, from your other illustrators and artists, and add a different dimension to the value that you bring, and the way. So it's just another facet that you might want to be aware of. That's all.
Yeah, and the other thing that I don't think we've mentioned yet is it gives you an opportunity to give back. So
Yeah.
when you're up there and you're sharing your information, I think it gives you a good feeling. You feel like you're helping people, and I think that for me is really important.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's probably the most rewarding. Even doing these videos and posting on the site. The most rewarding thing is when someone writes back or gets in touch with you and says, that was really timely. That really helped me out a lot. There's actually a post that I just put up on the site. Where was it? Hold on, I'll find it. But there's a post I just put up that was kind of it was kind of an exercise that was shared with me,
Mm-hmm.
and I just think that it's called The Great Struggle. So if you want to go check it out, go to drawnbysuccess.com. I think it's the last post that's up there. It's called The Great Struggle. It's just an exercise that a mentor of mine walked me through, and I found it really, really helpful. And I've already had several emails from people saying, "Wow, that I read that. That was so timely. It was like I needed to read that at this very moment."
Yeah.
So when you release something like that, it's really gratifying on a whole deeper level. So yeah, speaking to people and sharing your thoughts and your experience with others, there's always someone that's they're there at that moment to be able to hear it.
Yeah, and I get that with a lot of my students. Like they'll, and I had that moment when I was taking Kelly's class. Is you're sitting there and something just comes out at you that maybe you've been struggling with for years or whatever, and all of a sudden it's just like a light is turned on, And when I'm talking to students or I'm giving a presentation and I see that look and you make that connection, there's no better feeling in the world. You're like, yeah, man, I just I was able to help you, and I'm glad that I was able to. And then being on the reverse side of it, you're just like, oh man, it just blew my mind. Like going through Kelly's class, I felt like there was 2 or 3 times where she would discuss something I'd been struggling with for years. I wanted to jump up on my desk and just be like, yes,
Burden. Oh my gosh!
I see the light, and it just it's it's one of those things like there's just such a strong connection made through moments like that it's really special. So I was glad to be a part of it.
That's cool. Well, I'm great that event turned out great for you, and you guys are following it up with some interesting work.
Yeah, and I'll keep you posted on that stuff. We've got a lot of stuff coming here, and we're working on some stuff, but I don't want to get into it just yet because it's a little premature. But I'll talk about it in further episodes and kind of clue you in on what's up with that. So
okay, cool.
Just hang in there. Yeah.
And as a reminder, this coming Friday, October 10th and 11th. Speaking of speaking engagements,
you got some stuff coming up.
Yeah, I'll be down in Miami I'll be doing a speech over there on character development and doing some portfolio reviews at the MIA Animation Conference.
Nice.
MIA, what is it? What do they have? It's an industry conference that focuses on computer animation, gaming, special effects, video, film, web, all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot of big companies that will be out at this thing, and a lot of students. It's just a great event. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. So I'll be there.
That's cool. So we'll have to talk to you about that.
On 10, October 10th, I'll be there. I'll be there all day, and I'll be getting there early. There wouldn't be stress.
No, just do like what I did. Show up 5 minutes before you're supposed to be there.
So if you're in South Florida, go check it out. It's going to be really cool. It's going to be a really neat event. You know, a lot of big companies are going to be there, Miramax, Sony, and
That's
so
so
forth,
cool.
and a lot of gaming. You know, the bigger gaming platforms are going to be there, and obviously a lot of students and stuff. It's going to be at the Miami-Dade Community College down there at the downtown area is going to be hosting it. So really, really looking forward to that. So what else do we have, Bob?
Well, we'll have to see if we can
wrap this up.
Yeah, we'll have to see if we can.
How much time do we have?
We're going to have to see if we can hook up with you while you're down at the event. I know I don't want to put any more pressure on you than we need to, but if you can, if you can just kind of pull out the old cell phone and give us a little scan around, that'd be cool. I wasn't able to do that.
I'll try. Those things are really difficult to do when you're the one having the conversations, having the meetings. It's kind of hard to kind of put yourself out there and say, okay, let's get this on. So I'm working on getting a friend of mine to do the video or take pictures at the event, because I know that they will have a lot of media coverage there as well. They had it for the press conference a few months back. But I want to be able to make sure that we have something that we can bring back for Drawn by Success. So I'm working on trying to get somebody to to do that. So I don't have to worry about that, because otherwise it's just it's not going to happen.
It's too much. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know, and I wanted to do that when I went to this event. It's just too much. There's just too much to do that with, and plus they kind of discourage that at the event. So yeah, but anyways, that's cool. So we'll look forward to hearing more about that and what you're talking about. But there is one other thing that
yes, sir.
Yeah, there's one other thing I wanted to hit before we leave here, and to mention this program that we've been talking about, and we're getting a little bit closer to time to get this thing rolling. So this is the pricing thing that we were talking about. Do you want to talk a little bit about that before we go?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about price for a long, long time, and we've been sitting on the fence with this thing, just kind of gathering information and trying to find the time to do this. And one of the biggest questions we always get is, what do I charge for my work? So obviously the pricing issue is, and there's a lot of different ways to answer that. It's no really one easy way to do it, because for the most part, I think most people are looking for a magic number. This is what you charge for this is what you charge for that, and it's never really that cut and dry. But we're gathering information on what it is that you guys are struggling with, because I mean those are just the surface issues, and we want to be able to bring a complete solution to that'll make you feel comfortable with the price that you're going to give, and know that the price that you're coming up with is solid for you. Okay, so if you want, let me see, what do I do with this thing now? I'm going to switch my lower third here, see if I can master this. Bam!
Right.
Like that.
Okay. Look at you go.
If you can see that.
That's pretty professional. Now I feel like I'm kind of left out. What am I going to do?
How do I master the lower third?
Now how am I going to switch my lower third? Hold on, I got to switch mine now.
so here's the deal. We're taking in information. We created a survey that we had up, and we're going to share it with you again today. And that's the link right there. It's drawnbysuccess.com/pricing-survey. It's just 5 questions, just trying to gauge what your problems, what your issues are with pricing. Whether you have a pricing strategy, whether you don't have a pricing strategy. Are you happy with your pricing? That kind of thing. So that when we collect this information, we know what to focus on. The page that you'll be sent to, you'll have the option to just take the survey, or you'll have the option to put in your name and your email so that we can notify you when this program is ready. Either way is fine with you. However you approach it, the survey is anonymous, so we're not going to be able to see who submitted what. The email form is simply so that if you're interested in getting the program, once we put it together, if you're interested in getting word on that, we'll be able to send you out notifications on that so you don't miss it. But again, you can just go straight to the survey and just take that if you want. So you've got that option.
Yeah. Let me just put in one thing here. So, and if you do sign up for the notification, maybe we'll send you something kind of cool and special, like nobody else gets if they don't sign up. What do you think of that, Carlos?
Well, yeah. I mean, we're going to do that. If you sign up and you're in part of our follow-up list. We're going to do something cool. We'll probably maybe do, I don't know. We'll do something. We'll do something that'll make it worth your while. Obviously, it's better for us if we can develop a list of people who are already interested in this that we can submit it to and get it right to you. So there's no secret there. But yeah, maybe we'll do like a Q&A call that just for you guys.
That'd be fun. Something like that. Yeah.
So anyway, if you're interested in pricing, have difficulty with pricing, have questions about pricing, submit that. Go to that link and submit the survey. We're going to be looking it over in the next week or two, and once our traveling and speaking schedule settles down, we'll be able to get into this and notify you on where we are with that. But it's something that's going to happen very shortly. So
yeah, and just to throw a little icing on the cake here, this isn't just about naming a price. This is about putting together a system to help you understand kind of value you're bringing and what that value is worth. So we're going to go a little bit deeper than just saying, hey, here's how much this guy gets or whatever. It's not going to be a pricing guide like you would get out of, what's the Graphic Artists Guild book. It's not just going to. We're not just going to name a price. Here's how much this is worth. Here's how much this is worth. We're going to teach you how to bring value to what you're presenting to your clients and to be able to understand, what it is that you're charging, why you're going to get this amount of money, and how to up those rates so that you get a little bit more money to bring a little bit more value to the table.
Yeah, there's so many factors in determining the price. I mean, the Graphic Artists Guild, I think, does a good job of giving you a wide range of what professionals, throughout the country charge. But if you're just starting out and you don't know, what something is worth, it's not a whole lot of help because it could be anywhere from $500. Something could be anywhere from $500 to $2,500. So how is that helpful? So really, while it's good to know that something is not going to be $50, and something is not going to be $10,000 typically, it's not really helpful. So I mean, it gives you a range. But what we're going to do is kind of really dissect it down and figure out what you need and what your goals are, because it really has to do with a lot of your personal needs and your own personal situation. A high school kid living out of his parents' basement isn't going to require the same things as you, Bob, who has a family to raise and a mortgage and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of different facets to look at, but we're going to help you decide what the number is right for you. And I think a lot of people, where they become comfortable with numbers, is that they feel they're pulling something out of a hat and they don't feel consistent with that number because they can't justify it in their own head as to why they're picking that number. So we're going to help you figure out what the number is for you for any particular project, so that you feel good about it, regardless of whether the company had more or the company had less. Because that's a big issue I see too, is like a lot of people will quote something and say, well, they kind of accepted my quote rather fast. Kind of makes me feel like I left a lot of money on the table. You know what I mean? So while you're always going to feel that way, we're going to help you choose a number that you're going to feel comfortable with, regardless of whether they had more money or less money or whatever it is, because that really doesn't matter. You're never going to know exactly how much money someone else has to spend on you and your services. But as long as you're comfortable with the price that you give, and you don't feel like you're being cheated, and you don't feel like you're ripping somebody off, that's the comfort zone, right? So you're gonna feel comfortable relaying that price. If I tell you something's worth $5,000 and you've never charged more than $300 for it, you're gonna be tripping over your words when you try to spit out the word $5,000.
Well, not only that, Well, not only that, but we'll show you why certain professionals are getting more money versus somebody who's not getting more money, and it's all about the value that you bring to that project. So
positioning, value, and all that. I mean, it's a deep conversation. It's not just about the numbers. So understand that we're trying to put together a comprehensive program for you that is going to be able to help you answer this question so that you're profitable and that you feel good about the prices that you give. So let's not hammer that point anymore.
We do like to do that, don't we?
So anyway, there's the link, drawnbysuccess.com/pricing-survey. Okay, so the link will be down below wherever this video appears.
Yep, I just took the survey before we started the show here, and it will take you about a minute and a half, maybe 3 minutes to get through at the most.
Yeah, so it's only 5 questions. And after you finish, after you hit submit, you'll be taken to a graphical page, which will show you, I believe the answers that everybody's been given.
Oh yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, so there's little
They
pie
kind of have an
charts.
idea of what
Yeah,
everybody else's answers are. So
yeah, I like that. That was cool.
okay.
So you can see like where your answers fall, compared to what everybody else is saying too. So
Right. So,
yeah, all right.
So that's it, man. That's it. That's it for Hangout Fridays with Carlos and Bob.
Carlos, it was great hanging out with you again. I'm hoping that we get some great information from you after your event, and when you check in, and I hope that the presentation goes well for you.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Oh man, you're gonna knock it out of the park. Are you kidding me? If you guys haven't seen this guy speak, you got to go see him. He's great.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us again. We really appreciate your time, and we really appreciate the attention that you give us, and we know that time is valuable for you guys, and we try to make the shows as enjoyable and as informative as we can. So until next Friday, sir. Oh, actually, you know what? Next Friday, I don't know if I'll be able to do a show because I'll be at the conference. So we'll see what happens.
Do it without you. How about that? I'm gonna get somebody to come. I'm gonna get somebody to come sit in your seat. We'll do one without you, Carlos.
There you go. Whatever needs to happen, man.
No, man. We'll if we can get you down there, that would be great. If we can't, we'll figure out something.
All right, guys. All right, Bob. Nice speaking to you again.
Carlos, good to see you.
Guys, thanks for checking us out. See you next week. Later.